Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Faster my good evening, it's 5:30. This is Update for Wednesday, 18th of October 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the Isle of Man. And we got background to that news and sport and business and Sea Watch and travel update. And the newsmakers in person this evening. EV insurance up by 150%. No plans to advertise the Isle of Man on television. Shoprite redundancies should get first dibs at Tesco, says MHK. The Manx government's plan to tackle homelessness. And Bishop Peter's final Tynwald sitting today.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Fastamai, Chanel Suku.
Fastamai. The island's biggest insurer has hiked electric vehicle premiums by 150%. Tower, based in Douglas, says it follows a market review and will be with immediate effect. The steam packet has refused to provide Tynwald members with some information they've asked for in relation to an ongoing dispute with staff. And horse tram services along Douglas Promenade have been reduced due to concerns over safety. It's because a government building near to the horse tram stables needs demolishing. In international news, President Biden says there's evidence the Gaza hospital explosion was caused by a rocket fired by terrorists from inside the territory. Israel maintains its forces didn't strike the complex, killing hundreds of patients. A paedophile is starting 20 years in jail for abducting a schoolgirl in the Scottish borders and subjecting her to a sustained sexual assault. Andrew Miller was dressed as a woman when he offered his young victim a lift and took her to his home. And a Big Brother contestant's been reprimanded for using homophobic language during a rant on a live show. Kerry had reacted furiously to a prank by fellow housemates who'd stolen her mattress. Those were your headlines. News at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goromaya, thank you. Chanel from the Ronaldsway Met Office. Still got that gale warning out in the North Irish Sea. State of sea moderate or rough, becoming slight to moderate later. And a yellow weather warning for heavy rain tonight from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. So persistent and heavy rain this evening on a strong to gale force easterly. Overnight the easterly will ease just to become fresh to strong. Minimum 11 degrees through the night. For Thursday, Jardine, cloudy with scattered showers on a moderate to fresh southeasterly, easing after lunch, and a daylight maximum of 16 tomorrow. After dark, moderate northeasterly, down to 10 through the night into Jehenya. Friday, cloudy, occasional outbreaks of rain on a fresh to strong northeasterly. Top temperature 15 degrees. Sunsets in a little over half an hour's time at 6:15. Low waters at 26 minutes to 9. High tide 29 minutes before 3 a.m. Sunrise 7 minutes before 8. Low water is at 8:45 tomorrow morning. And the Ben McCree sails this evening at 8:15.
Manx Glass and Glazing are proud to be an approved contractor with Construction Isle of Man. Call the team on 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
The Isle of Man's biggest insurers raised electric vehicle premiums by 150%. Tower, based in Douglas, says it follows a market review and will be happening now, immediately. The company cites increased claims and issues with salvage and shipping. The story from Simon Richardson.
A Tower spokesman told Manx Radio that while the increase is significant, it is necessary to cover spiralling costs associated with EVs. The requirement to send many vehicles off-island for repairs and a tightening of the criteria for shipping EVs by the steam packet company are key factors behind Tower's decision. Cars being shipped to the UK for repair also travel unaccompanied, which significantly increases costs further. Tower says it fully understands the steam packet's conditions and additional safety requirements and has been holding discussions with the company, the Department of Infrastructure and the Vehicle Test Centre in a bid to resolve some of the issues surrounding EVs on the island. Tower says it could have chosen to walk away from EV EV cover entirely, but it's acutely aware of its responsibility to support government's environmental strategy. Insuring EVs is a growing problem throughout the UK, with many companies exiting the market. The latest to announce it would no longer provide EV insurance is the John Lewis Partnership. Statistics from Confused.com show EV insurance premiums have risen over 72% in the past year, with the average cost nudging £1,000.
There are no plans for television campaigns to market the Isle of Man, says Visit Isle of Man. The chief exec, Deborah Heather, says they have to take care of a few other things first.
We actually don't have our digital shop window in place. So when people are looking to buy or come to the Isle of Man, there's not a central place they can buy from. They're looking at people like Booking.com, and that's actually depriving some of our operators on the island of profit. So we need to get our positioning right. We need somewhere that people can buy from that's very easy for them to get their booking in. The other thing is post-COVID, a lot of the airlines have had issues. They basically they dumped a load of stock that wasn't green because lots of countries were bringing in green levies around aeroplanes. So Boeings of this world have got something like a 7-year backlog of new planes to be built. So the stuff we need to get right first and stuff the industry needs to get right. So we want to find a way for our visitors to buy from us directly or with minimum commissions so it doesn't impact on our local businesses so much. It kind of falls to us. We've got a unique opportunity because it's an island. You've got a unique opportunity to take the stock and do what you can for them. In most circumstances, you wouldn't get Visit England or Visit Scotland or other places doing that because they're the diversity and the amount of stock they're talking about. Whereas actually we're quite small, quite specialised. So we have an opportunity to do it. So we're working on a project right now to try and bring that together. And it will include routes to market that will take us to the States. So there's something called the Global Distribution System that runs the airline side of things. If we can get our accommodation stock on that, which some hotels do now, but it's only really the big ones. If we can get that, then it gives us a much broader appeal to get to that American market.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300.
Fast am I, it's 22 minutes before 6. Today's Tynwald sitting was the last for the Bishop of Soda and Man, Peter Eagles, who's retiring after more than 6 years in the job. He'll formally step down later this month when he'll return to England to be closer to his family, and he told gathered members today it's been a privilege and a blessing to be part of the Isle of Man's Parliament.
I am the custodian, the guardian of a tradition that goes back 2,000 years and longer if one includes the Old Testament. And to share in a parliament that has a tradition of a similar venerable status is just a wonderful thing. And to be here as part of everything that you have done over these past 6 years has been a privilege and a blessing. My predecessor, Bishop Robert, gave me 2 pieces of advice that have been really very helpful and that I've tried to follow. The first was about attendance, and he said that with the various commitments that he had across, he tried to ensure that he had a 75% attendance rate at Tynwald Court. And I thought that was a very impressive achievement, and he managed that. And I've taken that as a sort of watchword, really, because it has always struck me that my duty first and foremost is to be here in this place. And I think I've mentioned in another context how my admiration and indeed my affection for this honourable court has meant that I have always given it priority over, for example, the House of Bishops and other standing commitments. And I've wanted to do that and have been pleased to do that because it seems to me that this is where the role of the bishop must be.
Shoprite staff made redundant as part of the Tesco takeover should get the first take on job roles, so says South Douglas MHK Claire Christian. It's understood 60 Shoprite staff will be made redundant.
It was a horrible time, and it's very worrying for any person because of your mortgage or rent or whatever you're paying, and if you're a main contributor to your family, it's really concerning. And any kind of will help conversations from the government, they're not really going to give somebody a job, and really that's what those people have got to get now. There are jobs in the market, and it's whether they are like for like or or whether they can upskill. And that's something that we have to really make sure that these, I understand it's 60 people, these 60 people get the first opportunities for those jobs on the Isle of Man. And although the government say this doesn't tie into the work permit situation, I would be really nervous to release the work permits now, opening that up to a wider population, obviously the UK and the Channel Islands. We want to make sure that those the Shoprite workers get the first take on those job roles.
Sea-Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Well, nothing sailed today, so at the moment Ben McCree's in harbour. She's due out at 8:15 this evening, arriving in Heysham just before midnight. The overnight departure is 2:15, back to Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's departure is 8:45, Manxman to Heysham, and due to operational reasons, this sailing's been rescheduled and will now depart at 8:15 rather than 8:45. You're requested to check in no later than 7:45. The high-speed craft's departure tomorrow, Manannan leaves Douglas at 2 o'clock for Liverpool.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
Fewer than 100 people provided feedback about this year's Ramsey Sprintfest event. Results from the Ramsey Commissioners' Survey have been published. Here's our local democracy reporter, Emma Draper.
Sprintfest is held during the TT fortnight and is run by the Commissioners with live music from local bands alongside the Ramsey Sprint. The Commissioners allocated £20,000 for the running of Sprintfest. £14,541 has been spent. The local authority is also waiting for a £6,000 grant from the Department for Enterprise. A survey for businesses got just 10 responses, and a residents and visitors survey had 68. 29 people said they would rank the event very good, 5 people rated it as very bad, and just under 80% said it had met their expectations. The majority said they were satisfied with the music lineup of local bands, with the highest number of people also rating the stage and sound quality as very good. 27 people said the event was well organised. 38 people said the food and drink options during the event was satisfactory, but there was a difference of opinion on the provision of toilet facilities. 33 people said the availability was adequate and 30 disagreed. Just over 80% said the event was a safe and secure environment, and over half of the people said they would recommend the event to others. Of the 10 businesses which responded, 5 were located within the Sprintfest road closure or the suspension of parking area. 8 were aware that the event was happening and knew that advance warning signs were in use. Others said they weren't affected by the change in parking. The businesses were asked what mitigations could be taken to reduce impact, and the most common answer was changes to parking restrictions. A few suggested moving the event somewhere else, like the Morag, to keep the parking available. Comments were also made about better advertising and a request for a warden to supervise the car park. The Commissioners will now debate whether Sprintfest should go ahead in 2024, what the allocated budget should be, and if there should be a change in location.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 17 minutes before 6, the digital transformation company Kin & Carter surged today after it agreed to be taken over by the private equity company Apax Partners in a £203 million deal. Kin & Carter chair John Kerr said the offer provides shareholders with the certainty of a cash price today that fairly represents the opportunities and risks inherent in the business and the delivery of Kin & Carter's strategy. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. Elon Musk's X, used to be Twitter, has started a trial charging new users in New Zealand and the Philippines $1 a year to access key features, including the ability to tweet, retweet, like posts and reply to posts. Those opting out of the subscription will only be able to read posts, watch videos and follow accounts. X said the aim is to reduce spam and manipulation of the platform and bot activity. New accounts will also be required to verify their phone number. Since Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion last year, it's seen a continuous revenue decline. Last month, the boss of X, Tesla and SpaceX suggested that all X users may have to pay for access. He said that a bot costs a fraction of a penny to make, but the cost to users can be high. Paid subscribers of an enhanced service called X Premium now pay for longer posts and increased visibility on the platform at $8 a month in America, and that differs elsewhere, while other users can still use X for free.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European markets dropped as Trader monitors corporate earnings and developments in the Middle East. Better than expected Chinese growth data boosted Asian currencies. Global oil prices rose at the risk of the escalating conflict in the Middle East, and gold rose as that conflict in the Middle East sent investors flocking towards safe haven metal. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall. At the close in London, the FTSE 100 down 1.1% at 7,588. The DAX in Frankfurt down just over 1% at 15,094. A short time ago, New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial is down 0.5% at 33,832. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index down just over 0.75% at 13,429. The S&P 500 is down 0.7% at 4,343. But of course, the trading day continues across the other side of the Atlantic. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling is trading at $1 21.4 cents, €1 15.3 cents, and 23 South African rand 14.3 cents. In commodities, gold's up just over 1% at $1,944 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude up just over 0.1% at $90.92.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future for a house, or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
The Isle of Man in 30 minutes. Update on Manx Radio with Andy Wint.
The Manx government's expected to set out its plans to tackle homelessness in December. The story from Christian Jones.
Politicians will be asked to approve a draft homelessness strategy, which forms part of the work undertaken by the Housing and Communities Board. A review was carried out looking into the history of homelessness, current service provision, the needs of service providers and users. Additionally, focus was given to the conditions required to eliminate future homelessness. We're told the public and third sector and those with lived experiences contributed towards the strategy, which is made up of 5 different areas, consisting of providing easy access to support for those at risk of homelessness or those currently without a home, also setting up new legislation which provides long-lasting support. Data will also be gathered to support the provision of services, and regular needs assessments will be carried out for those in need of services. Douglas North MHK David Ashford is the chair of the Housing and Communities Board, who says a one-size-fits-all approach towards those who find themselves homeless is not the answer. Anyone who needs it should have access to the right service, the right housing, at the right place and at the right time.
Manx Radio Sport.
Faster My sports editor Rob Pritchard.
Faster My, good evening. More work is still needed to advance a strategy to develop sports facilities and swimming pools across the Isle of Man. That's according to the Education, Sport and Culture Minister, who provided a statement in Tynwald this week over the long-term plan for regional sports hubs, which was first agreed in January this year. Addressing the court, Julie Edge says more time is required to analyse what she calls a complex project.
I appreciate and understand that this is not ideal, but I can assure members that it's necessary to ensure that the full Tynwald commitment is completed and the report comes forward.
Meanwhile, Manx equestrian star Yasmin Ingham and her UK teammates have been nominated for a prestigious award. Ingham, along with her fellow Team GB squad members Rosalind Cantor, Laura Collett and Kitty King, have been shortlisted for Team of the Year in the Sunday Times Sports Women of the Year Awards 2023. The eventing team is one of 6 nominations in that category, which also includes England Football's Lionesses, the England Cricket Ashes team, England Netball, England Rugby's Red Roses and Team GB Cycling Pursuit. It comes after Ingham and Team GB were crowned FEI European Eventing Champions at Le Panneau-Harras in France in August. The squad finished that competition with a 27-point lead after leading all 3 disciplines of dressage, cross-country and show jumping. The Team of the Year category is open for members of the public to vote who they'd like to see win the prize, with voting closing at 12 p.m. on Wednesday the 25th of October. And in football, Corinthians have the chance to lead to the top of the Isle of Man Under-18s League this evening in the latest round of fixtures at the Bowl. With 2 wins from 2, they face a tricky test against Ramsey, who themselves won their first and only game so far. The northern side could go level with Corinthians and Braddon at the Summit should they take victory. In the other game in the division this evening, the newly formed Jim's team will be hoping for their first points of the campaign when they take on Union Mills, who have 1 win and 1 loss from their first 2 outings.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Looking good at Ronaldsway. The EasyJet 6:30 inbound from Belfast International is on time. The 10:08 Loganair from London City is showing on time. Inbound at 8:20 Loganair from Liverpool. The returning patient transfer plane is on time, and the 8:55 EasyJet from Gatwick currently showing on time. Outbound 6:25 Loganair to Liverpool. A patient transfer is showing on time. Outbound 7 o'clock EasyJet to Belfast International is on time, and the 9:05 EasyJet to London Gatwick showing on time. The Newcastle Town Road's closed between Spring Valley round about the bottom of Richmond Hill for resurfacing. Hillside Avenue in Douglas closed for adjacent office window replacement through to Circular Road. Temporary lights on Glen Crutchery Road at the roundabout with Victoria Road for resurfacing. The Millennium Bridge by Douglas Harbour is closed between 8 and midnight tonight for maintenance work. Temporary lights at the junction of Queen's Road and Park Road for gas main work. Little Mill Road and Ballacottia Road are closed for ditching work in Oncombe. Queen Street, Castletown closed for resurfacing. In Castletown too, there are temporary closures on Back Hope Street for hedge cutting and railing repairs. King Edward Road in Groudel's got temporary lights for patching work. You've got temporary lights on the TT course at Burlig Bridge for drainage work, and temporary lights on Peel Road, Peel for resurfacing.
H&H Motorcycles.im for all your motorcycle requirements. Southgate Industrial Estate, opposite Quayside Tyres. Call 665646.
Manx fishermen have already caught almost 100 tonnes of herring in Manx waters since the new quotas were brought in last week, according to the Manx Fish Producers Organisation. The chair, David Beard.
Some's gone to a restaurant and some has gone to smoking and some has gone to bait. Any part of the undersized catch can't go for human consumption, so would need to go for bait. And that's quite a common use for that sort of part of the product. We've caught, I think it's 99.6 tonnes, I think we've caught out of the 100-tonne quota. Now we've demonstrated clearly that with the technology we've got that we can catch the herring, that we can now look at developing markets going forward, and I think it's quite exciting. I think it's been excellent coordination between the government, between the PO, the fishermen, and the processors, and the handling of the catch on land. It's been brilliant.
One chef who knows the appeal of herring is David Butch Buttery.
When we were fishing for lobsters, we used to go out to catch bait. We used to catch mackerel for bait, and in amongst the mackerel there was always a number of herring. So I put them on in the restaurant, and I thought, spuds and herring, it might be a bit cheeky charging 16 quid for that, but I'll see how I get on. And I sold a lot. The people were absolutely, they couldn't get enough of it. And in fact, the first guy to buy it was Albert Goubet, so I was a bit surprised.
What was his reaction to it?
He was absolutely delighted with it. He said it's one of the finest things he'd ever eaten.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
Works continuing to raise awareness of support available to those going through the menopause, according to the Chief Minister. Alfred Gannon was quizzed about it in Tynwald yesterday by Douglas South MHK Claire Christian.
Government fully recognises that support at home and at work for women experiencing the menopause is crucial. Public Health is continuing to work with Manx Care to raise menopause awareness across the public domain, in addition to publishing the 5th edition of the Workplace Wellbeing Toolkit, which is an evidence-based practical guide to support wellbeing initiatives within the workplace. This excellent resource is now being used and promoted by the Isle of Man Chamber of Commerce. Thank you also to the Honourable Member for bringing the recommendations of the UK All-Party Parliamentary Group on Menopause to the attention of this Chamber. I understand that the group made 13 recommendations in its 2022 report, which spanned across menopause in policy making, menopause in the workplace, HRT and clinical approaches. However, I understand the report also states that it is not an official publication of the House of Commons or the House of Lords, and it is not approved by either House or their committees. Notwithstanding this, Mr. President, I have asked Public Health to review the APPG's recommendations in addition to any UK government response to them and to any other relevant reports and recommendations pertaining to menopause recently undertaken. I mentioned in my response to the Honourable Member last year that dedicated training was offered to government employees around the menopause. This menopause awareness course is open to all members of the public service and has been delivered on a regular basis with approximately 150 people attending. The feedback from these courses have been positive, and in particular those attending were appreciative of the opportunity to share their experiences. Whilst attendance on the course is not mandatory, the reception it has enjoyed means that it will remain a regular offering, and subject to continuing demand, it is envisaged the course will continue to be offered with 1 or 2 sessions per month.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Chanel Suku, producer Amy Griffiths. After the news, Howie Kane's along with our arts programme Spotlight, Greatest Hits with Chris Kindley at 6:30, some opera at 9 o'clock with Ernie Thorne, and Rhiann Evans with After Hours, The Late Show at 10. I'll be back tomorrow at 5:30.
WINT